Hi, my name is Mark, and some people call me Bugman because my job is to show people like you bugs. And I got a lot of interesting bugs here to show you today. The periodical cicadas are sort of one of the most fascinating animals when you think about trying to research them and find anything out about them, because like if they come up every 17 years and you're doing your postdoc or whatever, and then you go out and see them in the field, well, you got a long time to write those papers until the next time they come up again. All the different broods have numbers on them, and they come up in a different place in a different year on 17 or 13-year cycles. The 17-year ones are in the north and the 13-year ones are in the south. And that's what's interesting about this year, is because this is one of the few times that a 17-year population and adjacent 13-year population overlap in time. They only overlap a little bit in geography around the bottom of Illinois and Indiana. There's places where they kind of overlap geographically, but they never overlap in time because of their different prime numbered things. But when you multiply 17 by 13, you get 221, and the last time was 1803, and then it's 2245 when they'll come back up, when they'll synchronize again, when they'll overlap again. For a week or two, maybe 3 weeks before the main emergence, they'll make these holes and they'll come up to the surface and check things out and then go back down again. And it isn't until the soil temperature reaches 65 degrees, 8 inches down, that they actually do the emergence. And when they do the actual emergence, they look completely differently because their skin gets stretched real tightly, and you can see their bright red eyes underneath, and you can see their wings real well underneath, and now they're ready to go. And the first thing they do when they come up out of the ground is they go up, and they find the first thing they can climb up and they go up. And I saw these guys at High Banks Park, and there were a gazillion of them. They're trying to find a place to perch, and then their head's going to split open and they're going to shed their skin. And this one is this is in real fast motion. And so I don't know if they're trying to get there before their skin sheds or if they're trying to find the right place and they're like, okay, I'm ready. But then they come out of their skin and they lean back and start to spread their wings out. And then once they get the strength up, they reach back over and grab the wood in front of them and pull their abdomen out of the shell. Eventually they can fly, and if they get really good at it and then they fly, then they start to make a lot of noise. And so this male right here, you can see him, and you'll be able to see when he makes his noise, you can see him flex his abdomen to make that noise, and then he'll call a couple of times and then fly over to another perch. And so, but it's not just one male, it's like a whole gazillion males. And they'll be in trees, and you'll just see a bunch of them kind of fly out, and then a bunch of them buzz, and then a bunch of them fly out, and a bunch of them buzz, and it's amazing. You can just, it's like rhythmic, and you just stand there and go into a trance watching them and just listening to this incredible noise. So then, if they call right, they find a girl and they mate. And then the girl goes to lay eggs after that. And then in about 6 weeks, the eggs hatch, and they're little teeny, like little white ant-sized things, and they fall out of the tree and they dig. And they stay underground for 17 years, and then they come back up in 17 years and do it again. One of the more common things you'll see around here is this little guy right here. So this right here is embedded on a stick. It's kind of wrapped around this stick, and you'll find these usually about waist high in prairies or along bushes. And this is a praying mantis egg case, also called an ootheca. The Greek root for egg is oo. So if you see a word that starts with oo, it probably means something to do with eggs. And so in this case, it's an ootheca, which is an egg case. She bubbles this out of her abdomen, and when the bubbles dry, they turn into air pockets, and the air pockets insulate it. The eggs can stay protected all winter long in the elements. If you were to feel this, it feels kind of like styrofoam. Now this one's a Chinese praying mantis, and you find them in Ohio, but they don't really belong in Ohio. They are a non-native species that have been in Ohio for probably a few hundred years and never really caused a whole lot of trouble. When I was a kid, you would see a Chinese mantis every once in a while. They're the real big ones that have a green band on the side of their wings. And if you see a really big mantis in Ohio, it's a Chinese mantis. You won't see them until the end of the summer. When we were kids, you'd see them every once in a while. It was very exciting. And it's still exciting to see them now, but now they're everywhere. And the difference is sometime 20 or 30 years ago, people started selling these as a garden product to supposedly be natural pest control. When 100 of these come pouring out of the egg case, the first thing they do is disperse. They'll eat each other, they'll eat anything they can find, and since they're territorial predators, they try to spread out as much as they can. So if you release one of these egg cases in your garden, most of them are going to leave. If any of them happen to stay, eventually they'll eat butterflies and bumblebees. The real big ones have been known to eat hummingbirds. They're terrible pest control. So if you find one of these in nature, one of these praying mantis, Chinese mantis egg cases, I recommend taking it out of nature, which to different people means different things. I say give it to a teacher or a naturalist or a librarian or someone who will raise the babies if they want to and teach people the ecology of why you don't let these go in our nature. And if you find a praying mantis, not this big, because we do have a native mantis, and so this egg case is a little dark, but it's usually kind of the same color as the other one. But this right here is a Carolina mantis egg case, and the Carolina mantis is our native mantis. And so this you would kind of say, oh, that's a good mantis, and this is a bad mantis. And they're not really, but this one's a non-native species, this one's our native species. So if you see these in your garden, that's a good thing, and you should support them as much as you can. The difference in the actual mantis, aside from the egg case, is that a grown-up Carolina mantis is about that big, and usually a light green or kind of grayish-brown mottled color. The Chinese mantis is the one that gets real big. And so if you're in Ohio in the midsummer and you see a mantis bigger than this, it's going to be a Chinese mantis, and you should take it out of nature too. And it's one of the few bugs I say makes a good pet. I don't usually recommend people take animals out of nature to make pets, but as long as these are being sold, Chinese mantises make pretty fun pets, and just don't let them go and don't let their eggs go. So I was out hiking the other day and I found 3 of these. And if you'll notice, one thing about these, if they were on a tree, they would look almost exactly like leaves, dead leaves hanging on the trees. And I can't tell you how many dead leaves I've looked at thinking that it might be one of these, but it was just a dead leaf. I'm writing songs about, nope, just a leaf. But these are Cecropia moth cocoons. And this is sort of the classic standard shape and would probably be a male. And then these kind of more bulbous ones would probably be females. And I found these 3 along a fence row by the airport, and I was so excited. But then when I went and got them, they were empty, and so you can sort of feel that there's not the heft of still a moth inside. But what's interesting about these is they make them for winter, and so winter means you have to deal with the cold and the elements. And if you're sitting out in a bush or a tree and you're just sitting there on the twig, it's going to be cold. You're going to get snowed on, you're going to get ice, rain, whatever. And so this thing inside has to be protected. And on the outside, this is all caterpillar spit, silk. Their spit comes out of their mouth, and so they make the cocoon and they wrap themselves up like that and wrap it all around them. But then if I open this, so if I just slice this all the way along the top, and then pull it back to reveal what's inside. It's exciting. It's another cocoon. They make a double, and in between it's all fuzzy. And the value of that is that this model traps air inside here, and air is an insulator. So when this caterpillar makes this cocoon, it makes two cocoons. It makes the inner one and then this outer protective one, and in between it traps a bunch of air in there as a way to deal with winter. And then what comes out is a gorgeous Cecropia moth, which is the biggest moth in North America, and they're huge, sometimes a 6-inch wingspan, and they're red and white and brown, and just with big, huge fuzzy antennas, and just gorgeous. One of our lessons in most of our bug programs is that respect comes from the Latin, and spect, S-P-E-C-T, means to look or see, and re means again, and respect means look again. And when you go slowly enough and you look again, that's when you see the cool stuff.